The group Global Action on Gun Violence, or as I call them, the Global Action on Disarming Law-Abiding Citizens. They are suing the U.S. government on behalf of the Parkland shooting victim Joaquin Oliver and his parents. They claim the country's gun policies were in violation of their son's right to life and personal security as dictated in the Declaration of Independence. Watch.
The right to a future that our son will never have.
On February 14th, 2018, our son Joaquin Oliver was shot at Parkland High School.
In his name, we're suing the United States government for putting gun rights over his right to live.
All right. Well, the Constitution actually has something else to say about that. That is an actual document that sets up our government and laws. So basically what this boils down to, folks, another left-wing group under the guise of justice for a school shooting victim, which was tragic. They want to ensure American citizens in the future are defenseless in the face of criminals or abusive government. Joining me now, president of Crime Prevention Research Center and author of Gun Control Myths, Dr. John Lott, and spokesman for Gun Owners of America and former police officer Luis Valdez. Dr. Lott, I want to begin with you. It's not hard to figure out the motive of this group, what these people are after. But you have responded to this group with something that their side rarely uses, data. Explain.
Right. Well, look, I mean, I don't support gun rights. What concerns me is what saves the most lives. And I've dealt with this group before. Obviously, my heart goes out to them for the tragedy that they suffered. But the point is, every place in the world that's tried to ban either all guns or all handguns has seen an increase in murder rates every single time. You think out of randomness, once or twice, it would go down or at least stay the same. And yet every single time, if they could get their way to go and ban all guns that are there, they're not going to obtain the goal that they want to, and that is saving lives. And that should be what concerns everybody, what works and what doesn't work. I had to deal with this group about a year ago. They had invited me to go. I didn't know it was the gun control group. I was told that there was a high school in Las Vegas that was having its graduation. And it was a large high school, and I was asked if I would be the keynote speaker. And I said, okay, I'm happy to do it. They changed the date. I had to drive all the way through the night in order to get there for a practice session that they wanted, but I figured it was worth it. And they had me go and do kind of a rough version of my talk that I was going to be giving, which they taped. And they took like 30 seconds or so out of a 15-minute talk and completely edited it. They refused to release the entire version of the talk that I gave.
Right.
And they put it out there in the media to try. And it turns out it was just this gun control group getting me to come down there.
Yeah,
you know,
it's just again, the tactics of the left, dishonest. Again, and we have to point out, every single time gun control is implemented, the murder rate goes up, it doesn't go down. So are they really after, Lewis? What's your response to this? Are they really after reducing gun violence and murder rates? Are they really after disarming law-abiding citizens?
They're completely after disarming law-abiding citizens. And as a former police officer in the state of Florida, I could tell you vehemently that the absolute failures that they're pushing were the leading cause to what happened in Parkland. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Senior High was a gun-free school zone. The shooter was a known problem. He had over 30 points of contact with the Broward County Sheriff's Office, and they swept him under the rug. And as a Cuban American, if they really want to experience what a gun-free utopia is, they could go 90 miles off our state shore and they could go to communist Cuba and they could see how much of a human right they have there living in a gun-free utopia. But the end result is they want to disarm and they want us to make us slaves of the state.
Well, precisely, because in Cuba, only the military and the government only has guns, and they have zero freedom. Dr. Lott, last week, U.S. Appeals Court called Joe Biden's efforts to crack down on privately made firearms. They called his efforts unlawful. And as real Americans know, you are allowed to produce firearms for your own personal use. The court is finally blocking this executive overreach because apparently the GOP is too busy fully funding Joe Biden's gun-grabbing agenda. Biden was creating policies through executive edicts out of thin air, and nobody got a vote, nobody got a say. How crucial was this ruling and that the courts, not the Republicans, but the courts stopped Joe Biden?
I mean, there's a whole series of different rules that the ATF has been putting out that they've been being reined in on by the courts. There's a certain process that you're supposed to go through in order to put out new regulations, and they've been thumbing their nose at those rules. I mean, the Biden administration, first of all, people have been making homemade guns since before we were even a country. They claim that these ghost guns are, it's important to get rid of them to prevent crime. The problem is that really when you look at registration and licensing of guns, which is what they want to have, it doesn't help solve crimes. I mean, in theory, if a gun is left at a crime scene and it's used by the criminal and it's registered and licensed, you can go and trace it back. But in practice, that just doesn't happen except on TV shows. In reality, crime guns are very rarely left at the crime scene. In the few times that they are there, they're not registered. And the once or twice that they are, they're not registered to the person who committed the crime. In Hawaii, anyway, you look at state after place after place that has this.
Dr. Lott, I'm coming up here, and I've only got a minute left, and I got to get one. Yeah, I got to get one more question to Lewis. It's okay. I got about 1 minute left. So, Lewis, we also know Joe Biden agreed to give arms to Israel on the condition that Israel not allow victims of the terror attack to have weapons, the citizens. Team Biden is so committed to disarming citizens, they would just as soon let people die at the hands of radicalized Islamic fundamentalist terrorists rather than be able to defend themselves. What is your take on that left-wing mindset?
Well, my take on that left-wing mindset is very simple. The idea of this government controlling the access of arms to civilians is a proven failure. Israel, through their parliament, already limited gun control access to the civilian population. And for the most part, sadly, hundreds of Israeli citizens wish they probably had a gun and the ability to fight back, and they lost their lives and were left defenseless by the very government that disarmed them and allowed Hamas to kill them. That's the honest truth.
Right.
We are our own first responders, and you cannot wait on the government to come rescue you. If those Israeli citizens were armed, and they should be armed, they would have been able to fight back.
Yeah, and what they went through in Israel is the vision that all of these gun-grabbing groups have for all of us. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Dr. John Lott and Luis Valdez, appreciate the time.